For more on this, I am joined by the retired United States Army Colonel Yevgeny Gvinman. He's an international law expert and a former deputy legal advisor with the White House National Security Council. He's been to Ukraine 6 times since last June, visiting these devastated cities throughout the country and to investigate war crimes on behalf of the Atrocity Crimes Advisory Group. Yev, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alex, for having me here.
I was asking you in the break, how do you think about, I mean, there's lots of evidence for these war crimes. There's people's cell phone video, there's satellite video, there's all sorts of ways to corroborate it, probably more so than many other conflicts in the past. But there are no leaders to arrest. There are no leaders to charge. There's no one to hold to account just yet. And if nobody ever arrests Vladimir Putin and his group, what does justice look like?
Well, at this stage, the investigation is the most important thing. Accountability is a long-term process. World War II, Germany was still holding war crimes trials as recently as last year. Same thing is happening in Yugoslavia for the crimes that were committed decades ago. So at this stage, it's about collecting the evidence, preparing cases for when the opportunity presents itself, either a regime change in Russia or somebody travels outside of into Europe on a vacation or a visit. They can never escape accountability, no matter how long it takes. And it's about a web of accountability. So the European courts have a role, the ICC has a role, Ukrainian courts have a role, and potentially some special tribunal that's set up for the crime of aggression.
The crime of aggression is what they call the mother of all crimes, right? The idea that war was, an illegal war was launched because there was no goal that Russia had, that it was a legitimate goal. It wasn't actually trying to take land back that was taken from it. That's the big one. All of these other crimes come from the crime of aggression.
That's correct. And when you look at a crime of aggression, you look at things like the character of the war. Why was it fought? Was it a humanitarian intervention, which could be an exception to the crime of aggression? What is the scale? What is the scope of the war? And here, with the massive attack that Russia has perpetrated last year, a year ago, in the entire territory, or 3/4 of the territory around Ukraine, the massive formations, artillery, naval, air forces, there is a fairly straightforward case for a crime of aggression.
And you're not, even if somebody's a soldier, a combatant, there are rules about how you treat them. Once somebody surrendered, or once they're in your custody, or once they've got handcuffs on, you can't torture them, you can't kill them, you can't do these things. But what we were talking about in Bucha and Irpin and Hostomel, and by the way, what we still don't know about Mariupol and places like that, these are crimes against civilians.
Correct. And so whenever you're not in combat anymore and captured POWs, it's considered hors de combat. It means you can't shoot them anymore. They're non-combatants. Civilians are always unlawful targets in civilian objects. And I've been to places like Bucha and Irpin and Hostomel, and I've seen the places where the executions actually took place. I've seen the executions. I've seen where what looks to be very clear evidence of indiscriminate bombing, non-proportional attacks on areas where civilians can be injured. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you think about places like Mariupol, huge cities that were basically razed to the ground, you're going to see many more cases. Right now, the Prosecutor General has 71,000. I suspect that number is going to be much higher when all of Ukraine is liberated. And I say when because I have no doubt that's going to happen. And the investigations take place in those areas.
Yesterday at the press conference, President Zelensky, when asked about war crimes and the prosecuting of them, did express some concern that it's the one piece of satisfaction he doesn't get from world leaders, in that they tend to respond with, we don't have good enough infrastructure for prosecuting war crimes. What was he talking about? Because you're talking about a whole web of being able to prosecute war crimes, but he was sort of implying that there's not enough.
Well, I think there is actually, for most of the crimes, there's a good infrastructure. And in fact, the crime of aggression, there's a mechanism for the International Criminal Court to try the crime of aggression. The problem is that international institutions are very much hampered by this particular conflict because of Russia. Russia is a veto-holding member of the Security Council, and so it would have to be a referral from the Security Council for the ICC to be able to try the crime of aggression. And that's just not going to happen in this case. That's why there are other thoughts about mechanisms, that some sort of ad hoc tribunal that's raised in the EU or something like that. But there are mechanisms, and certainly plenty of mechanisms for war crimes and atrocities.
Yeah, you and your brother Alex are military experts, but you're also from here. Your family hails from here. This is personal for you.
It's personal to the extent that I feel for the people. I mean, the story that you had just a few minutes ago with the young girl, my daughter's just a few years younger than that. And it's hard for me to imagine that the suffering that the population has gone through here. And frankly, I remember one of the things distinctly is the hug she gave you and how human that is. And so there's a humanitarian component undoubtedly to a free people just trying to live their lives that have been brutally attacked. But I also see this as a U.S. security issue. And last week, Mitch McConnell, and I have to agree with Mitch McConnell on this, he said that this was the most important event going on in the world today. He's 100% right. This is the most important event because we're an interconnected world. I mean, COVID showed us that a war in Ukraine with a potential burgeoning new Russian empire is going to impact the United States, and it's going to have far-reaching impacts to other national security issues. So it's a humanitarian issue for me, but also I can't shake after 25 years in the Army, the national security, the interests of the U.S.
We're glad you cannot shake your service to the country. To you, Colonel, and to your brother, thank you for all the work that you've done for the safety of America and the world.
Thank you.
It's good to see you in person.
You too.
Yevgeny Vindman is a U.S. Army colonel retired. He's also the former deputy legal advisor and senior ethics official for the White House National Security Council.